Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching this video. Off to Alvechurch on my way. 5th round of the Winter League. So 2022 and obviously 21 as well. It has been a little bit of a disaster personally for myself. I haven't done very well on any of the rounds. Hopefully today I will catch some fish, but I said that 2 weeks ago on peg 16 on Canal and I caught nothing. Well, I caught a few fish. I had £10, which was last in the section, but that was insanely cold. So you can understand why the fish didn't feed. Today it has been mild last couple of days. It's quite windy today, 16-mile-an-hour winds, and I have drawn peg 11 on Horseshoe. So Mark does the draw on the Thursday afternoon and lets everyone know where they draw. So therefore just makes things a little bit safer rather than having 30 blokes all congregate waiting at the draw queue. You know, people could just go straight to their pegs and stuff. So COVID's obviously still around, and just trying to keep everybody safe. What I think about peg 3 on Horseshoe, peg 11 on Horseshoe, wow, it's an absolute flyer. No two ways about it. It's the only peg that can reach the far bank with a 16-metre pole. Obviously there are other pegs you could reach a far bank, but you'd have to fish astronomical amounts of carbon to reach a far bank. Peg 28, that's not in. That'd be another peg that could reach a far bank. Jordan Horse drawn peg 29, which could be a good peg, but he's not in my section, so it doesn't matter. Peg 3 and 5 have been pretty good. I'm not sure who's going to be on 3 because it was a stand-in, so looking for a stand-in for that peg, and that has been good. That won the Thursday match, but normally the fish do sometimes congregate there. So 2 weeks ago James Lorna, fair play, won the match off peg 3. So there's no feeder chuck there though, but he's caught on the pole, and I believe he's caught a couple on the waggler, so happy days to him. I like to think I'd catch some fish today because I just think they patrol that far bank, so swim up and down, so just be dobbing, I guess. You know, I want to introduce some food, but it's just a little bit risky, so I'll probably plumb up a couple of lines and definitely introduce some food somewhere. Peg 9 is not in, so again that gives me some advantage. So you've got to think I'm going to catch some fish today, surely. I'll be absolutely mortified if I don't. But hey, it's winter fishing, you never know. For example, 2 weeks ago, Rom was on peg 3. He was winning the league and still is winning the league, and he really struggled off peg 3. All the fish seem to be peg 20 really. Not taking nothing away from the angler who drew 20 at all, but when we're walking up you can see like this massive load of mud stirred up in the middle of the lake. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. I've been fishing for a long time, and it was right on top of the bubbler, so I believe the fish were actually in the bubbler, and obviously they're just churning it up. I don't believe every single fish was in the lake there, and I don't believe that they're all feeding. But what I'm getting at is peg 20 won the lake on the Saturday. Ron struggled like real bad on 3, and he's a great angler. And the next day they've had a club match there, and peg 3 won the match. So it just shows the fish swim around. So even though like today you like to think maybe 3, 5 might be a favourable area for the lake, then they might not be there. They have got fins, they can swim. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm 0.4, so just not gonna mess around. I'm gonna fish like minimum line for hook length's gonna be 0.14. I don't believe you want to be fishing anything lighter than that. Fish can be anything from £4. There's a few smaller fish, but average sort of quarry are going to be 4 or 5 pounders, and there's a lot of 8-pound fish. And because the peg's very shallow, for those who don't know it, the fish are going to go off at a rate of knots. So I'd sooner like hook less fish because I'm fishing heavier, but get them out, give myself a fighting chance of, you know, landing every single fish. I honestly don't believe that fishing like 0.10 or 0.11 and stuff's going to make a massive difference trying to catch these decent sized fish. I ain't going to do it. I've done it in the past and it just ends up biting you in the ass. If it's F1s and stuff and skimmers, then that's obviously a completely and utterly different kettle of fish. But these aren't skimmers, they ain't F1s, these are carp. So I don't believe they're line shy at all. People might even laugh at me fishing 014. You know, people might even fish heavier than that. Just fish light rigs, long line because it is going to be windy. So I'm going to fish a long line between the pole tip and the float. There's no restrictions on how long you can fish line between your pole tip and float, unlike some venues. And that's it really. Just going to fish maggots, maybe a few fishery micros, maybe, but I think it's just going to be maggots, and bread's going to be main quarry. Maybe a tiny bit of corn, but I don't know, I don't seem to catch very many fish this time of year and using corn, to be honest. So it's going to be bread and maggots, maybe an expander pellet, maybe, but already I feel I'm complicating it, so hopefully it's going to go down the maggot route. And as you can see, that it's got a little bit of ripple, nothing too crazy. So let's say good morning to Jordan Hall. All right, Tin Tong.
All right, my lover.
How's it going? You are lucky, aren't you? It's going to be like really windy. You got a great peg, and you got the wind off your back. Peg 3 did win the match on Thursday.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're all come till today. Follow that one.
Well. Anyway, have a good one.
And you, brother.
So the first hour wasn't too bad. I chucked the lead twice for probably roughly maybe 10 minutes tops. And I gone on the pole and I dobbed in front and fed a thing. Just dobbed maggots in front, didn't get a bite. Moved to slightly to my left and there's like a big sort of like tuff, bit of reed, and obviously there's quite a few fish underneath there. And I've had so the first hour, so the first 20 minutes ain't caught anything, so in 40 minutes I've had 31 pounds. But the problem is if you watch all the video, you'll see the wind was an absolute nightmare. I'm surprised I didn't lose my temper, actually, to be honest with you. It's really frustrating because I've obviously drawn probably one of the best pegs in Europe, and just obviously the winds just bashed me up. I've only had one fish on the lead. So basically the first hour I've had 31 pound. I've had one carp on the bread on the lead, which has probably gone about 6 pound, and then I've had 19 pound in the last hour. I've probably had about 6 fish for that, so quite small stock is. So it's been quite enjoyable. I did feed some bait. I feel if I would have persevered with fishing the pole in that wind, I feel I would have broke it. I actually put it away. So it's probably about an hour and a half into the match. I actually put it away because I was worried I was going to end up breaking it. My GoPro even gets blown over on the tripod. As you can see, my net's getting blown around. So I didn't think the winds was going to be as strong as what they were, to be honest. I thought it was only going to be 16 mile an hour winds. I don't know where I got that from, so good job I'm not a weatherman. Obviously that is definitely a lot stronger than 16 miles an hour. I appreciate, you know, it's gusts and stuff, but if you look at that tree that's like slap bang in the middle of the video, you'll see at times that is arched right over. I believe that's a silver birch tree. But anyway, yeah. So rig wise, like I said earlier, I'd fished quite a long line. In the end I had to shorten it a little bit because basically the line was too long and it was just getting caught in the far bank. So I got a real long line here at the moment, but when that wind got really strong, I've had an absolute mare of catching stuff on the far bank. So yeah, that wasn't really ideal. So Ron next to me has caught really well. He's caught barbel against a flower pot on 13 to start off with, and then he's chucked a lead down his peg towards like 15, and he's caught some decent carp on the lead and maggots. And Jay's opposite, he's basically chucked a lead down to the aerator, and he's caught some fish doing that. He's had 49 pound, so he wasn't very far away. He's a bit unlucky really. He could have almost beat us. He's lost a big fish on the pole right at the death, bless him. So yeah, lakes are fished quite well in places. Canal Pool, I believe, was one with 140 pounds. On peg 24, he's caught on 8mm hard pellet, 5mm up at 5 meters, fishing 4mm. Canal did fish hard from pegs 3 to 11. Didn't fish very well. The other bank's definitely fishing better, it seems. Well, it is. Paper proves it. So when I fished the match there 2 weeks ago, it fished a lot better on that bank. So I'm not sure why. Years ago when I used to fish the venue, normally you always wanted to draw on the other bank. You normally wanted to draw like 3 to 11. Normally 3 was very good, and then sometimes they move, and 11 and 10 would be very good. So obviously fish are moving around and stuff. Yeah. Just fishing double maggot, nothing fancy, nothing on the maggots, just all the maggots this morning, half a pint. That was it. I knew that'd be more than enough. Fishing double maggot on a size 20. So really important to try and, like, not that I'm a dobbin master, because I really am. It's important to try and just find them. So obviously I started in front and then went to my left slightly, went to my left slightly again, and then all of a sudden that's where they are. So obviously just a ball of fish. And the beauty of this lake is you can fish like single or double maggots, because there's hardly any little nuisance fish. So you know, it's great when that float goes under. Normally it's going to be a decent fish, you know, a carp or a bream, or there's a few big eyed in here as well. It's a shame really, because if it would have stayed like this, I would have had a decent weight. You know, I haven't fished a great match, to be honest. The wind's really duffed me up. You know, and I've had 57 pound. I feel the peg's worth, what, 3-4 times worth that. I just don't think anyone would have been able to fish a 16 metre pole in that wind. This is why it's important still to fish quite heavy. Fish do fight pull really hard, so I've got like a 2mm hybrid elastic. The water's still freezing, mind. Not as cold as what has been, but still is very cold. I think it'll take a while to warm the water temperature up with this mild weather. Didn't foul hook at hardly any today. Only when I started feeding later in the match, when I fed in front. That's the only time I started foul hooking. All the fish to my left, believe it or not, I never lost any. Only when I introduced a bit of food, like the last hour, become a bit of a problem. The sun was a nightmare, so try to hold a pole with one hand now. Just take your time, don't rush it. Paranoid about my kit getting blown in. You have to invest in a tulip. It's like a pole clamp, pole sock, so I'm going to have to start getting that sort of stuff, I feel. Be careful on this lake as well. Like today, I had a fish that's gone absolutely tearing off down the lake. It's gone flying towards peg 3. Now it's turned around and it's gone flying towards Rom, towards the flower pot, which is where it's going to get me in there. And it turns out, honestly, it's top lip, common about £5. Thing is, the water's really shallow here. It's only probably about maybe 2.5 foot, so this is a real shallow part of the lake, and obviously they just tear off, so don't be thinking fishing real heavy elastic and stuff even in summer, otherwise you're going to have broken top kits and broken number 3s and 4s, loads of hook pulls. So you need strong gear, but obviously that elastic needs to let them fish kite off, so strong and soft basically. That's what I would suggest. Maybe I shouldn't even got my pole out looking at that tree. Shaking my head just a minute ago because obviously it's frustrated how windy it is. But be a little bit careful on this peg as well, because obviously it's great that the platform goes out, because that means obviously I can fish a shorter pole. So that's great, but be careful the fish don't try and do you underneath the platform. I didn't have any of that problems today, just to pre-warn you if you ever fish this peg. There goes my tripod, which was actually rammed into the ground. Yeah, so lucky enough my camera wasn't damaged. I think at this point maybe I should have thought, actually, let's turn it off, let's put my pole away, and let's just chuck the lead and watch Ron back up next to me. If you enjoyed the video, then please, I'd like you to subscribe. I will survive if you don't subscribe, but obviously you won't miss any videos, and it helps me out if you do subscribe. But I'm not going to beg, as you probably guessed, and if you've watched any of my other videos, I don't keep asking for people to give me thumbs up, and please subscribe. So yeah, anyway, this is the bits that went wrong. This is all very well doing editing, showing how great you are, so things did go very Pete Tom, so probably pulled on this fish maybe a tiny bit too hard. It wasn't foul hooked and it's come off, which was not ideal. Just a hook pull. And then it got so windy I had to chuck the lead, and then my top kit started to blow everywhere. Luckily there was no damage, well, no damage that I'd known. I did have 3 rollers for my pole, and then a bucket as well with loads of weight in it, just to make sure obviously your pole doesn't fall off the rollers. And then my hat decides to blow off, and the hook box did float, so happy days. So at least I didn't lose my hook box. Dried it out on the way home in the van. Cheers Mike for rescuing my other hat, and cheers Mark for lending me a hat. So yeah, did go a little bit wrong, and I did hook the far bank a few times, unfortunately, just catching debris and stuff on the far bank, which was an absolute mare at times.
That's not good.
Somehow I got everything back on this. I would not recommend putting it towards like I've done. I would have kept it a lot lower. We just got so frustrated with it all. And fair play to the Preston staff, it's well padded, there was no damage done to my body. Apologise about the language.
Got everything back, look and all. Wow, what can I say? I have been blown off my box. The video will show it. Losing top kits, crashing into van doors. Yeah, it's been a bit frustrating really. I mean, I've like dog maggots in front of me, didn't catch, went to my left under like a little bit of a turf, and fair play, caught quite well to begin with, and then that wind has just been horrific, so it's just like cocked us up a little bit. Trying to chuck the lead, I've lost one on the lead, which is like broke me, then I've had one on popped up bread, and then the last hour the wind has died down loads, and then I've tapped in some maggots where I hadn't caught any fish, so I just thought it'd be like a throwaway line, so it was dead in front of me, never caught nothing dobbing there, and fair play, the fish actually did come to it, so maybe I should have fished a little maggot feeder or a little cage feeder and just give it a little bit of bait. Oh, it's just really awkward. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Yeah, don't know what to say really. Just Ron's destroyed me big time, Mr. Blue Pills. Yeah, roll on to the next one, I guess.